Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video we are going to be talking about an extremely beautiful philodendron called as Philodendron Green Dragon. Now this is a regular form. There is a narrow form as well, but this is the regular one. Both of them have the same care requirements. Now let's talk a little bit in detail about this plant. It's an absolutely beautiful plant and you will be able to see the beauty of this plant is on the shape of the leaves. You can see the moment I had seen this plant, I was like, I have to get one. You can see how beautiful the leaves tend to look like. This is the older leaf, a little bit more broader, but the new leaves are a little bit narrow, I would say. But over the period of time, they will start to get the same form like this. The newer leaves will come out with a very, very beautiful shape like this. Absolutely beautiful. Now another important thing that I want to share with you guys, I don't know if you can see, but there are some watermarks on the leaves. Now this usually happens when you tend to use tap water because tap water has a lot of, especially if it's hard water, they have a lot of mineral deposits in that. And when you tend to use tap water onto the leaves like this, they tend to leave this mineral deposit, and over the period of time, if you do not clean the leaves, it can damage the leaf as well. I always tend to avoid using tap water onto the plants. Even for the watering as well, I tend to use old water, and especially for misting the plants, I do not mist with tap water, otherwise it's going to leave a lot of watermarks. So I usually tend to use either drinking water or filtered water while I'm misting my plants. The watermarks can be taken out easily with a wet cloth, but it is very difficult. At times it becomes very difficult to clean the leaves. So one is that it tends to spoil the look of the plant. Apart from that, it also damages the plant if there is a lot of buildup on the leaves. Now let's talk a little bit in detail about the care tips of this plant, starting off with light. Now please do not expose this plant to direct sunlight. You can see it has this beautiful green glossy leaves. If you're going to expose it to direct sunlight, the leaves will get damaged, they will get burnt. Apart from that, the colors will also start to fade off. It will become a little lighter in color. Basically, the bleaching of the leaves, that's what's going to happen. If you want, you can provide early morning direct sunlight, probably before 9 a.m. But after that, avoid giving direct sunlight. It will do quite well in indirect but bright light. You can grow it indoor, you can grow it outdoor. If you're growing it indoor, ensure you're keeping it in a spot where it receives a good amount of indirect bright light without the sun's direct rays falling onto it. Do not keep it under an air conditioning vent or a heater because that will again damage the plant. Now talking about soil mix, I tend to use the same soil mix, which is a mix of garden soil, coco peat, perlite and sand. Basically, philodendrons prefer a very loose, porous, airy soil mix with a slight amount of moisture but not soggy, wet soil. If you're going to keep the soil soggy, wet, the roots will get rotted, so be extremely careful. The coco peat will maintain a slight amount of moisture. The garden soil is going to give that natural nutrients and minerals to the plant. Perlite is going to make the soil mix airy and sand is going to make the soil mix well draining. So all of this combination is going to work out really well for your plant. Now talking about watering, again you have to check according to your environment and climate. Check around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry and then go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole, which means that your pot should have a drain hole. If the water tends to stay stagnant in the pot, then your plant will have a root rot, so be careful. Ensure that your pot has a drain hole. Now talking about temperature and humidity, these are tropical plants. They prefer warmer environment, good amount of humidity. Humidity above 50% will work out really well. Temperatures anywhere between 15 degrees Celsius up to 33-34 degrees Celsius will work out really well. These tend to grow during the summers and they tend to kind of slow down their growth during winters. So if you are a person who tends to use fertilizers, you can do it right now during the summers. I usually go for a liquid-based fertilizer, which is my compost tea. I give it once a month during the growing season. During the winters, I reduce the watering and I do not add any fertilizers because the plant is kind of in a slow growing period or basically the resting period. So it's advisable not to add any fertilizers during the winters. Now talking about pest issues, I would always advise you to do a routine check once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks. Always turn the leaves and check. You can see this one has some yellow spots because there were some spider mites beneath the leaves. I have done the cleaning, but the yellow spots will stay on the leaves unfortunately, but the bugs have been taken care. So spider mites, mealy bugs, white flies are basically something that attacks the plant. So always do a routine check underneath the leaves. If you tend to see any kind of bugs, treat the plant at the early stage. Do not let it get into an infestation, because otherwise it will be very difficult to treat the plant. Now, talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, this plant is toxic. Ensure that you're keeping the philodendron away from the reach of small children and pets, because the leaves of a philodendron contain calcium oxalate. If the leaves are ingested, or if the stem or any part of the leaves are ingested, it can lead to problems in the mouth, drooling, burning of the lips, burning of the mouth, which can be quite dangerous. So ensure that you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. When you're doing a propagation, ensure you're using gloves, because if you have sensitive skin, it can also irritate your skin. Now, talking about propagation, it's again the same thing. I have already made 2 videos. I'll put the link in the description below. You can check it out. It's all about the nodes. You need to locate the node. Like over here, we have 1. Like over here, we have 1. We have 2 and 3 and 4. So just a few centimeters below the node is where you do a cutting. You can put it in leca, you can put it in soil, and you can start growing it. So it's pretty simple. I have made a video on propagation. You can check the link in the description below. Apart from that, it's an absolutely beautiful philodendron. If you are a person who loves foliage plants, I think this is one of the plant you can add in your collection. Probably you might find it in the local nursery. If not, you can always find it online, philodendron green dragon, and you will get it in the search results, because this is I wouldn't say it's a very common or it's a very rare plant. It's somewhere in between, and you can easily find it online. Apart from this, this philodendron is a climber. You have to use a pole stick. Now, right now, this is a very young plant, so I'm just using a small little stick to hold it upright. This can do very well. It tends to climb onto a pole, so you can use a sphagnum moss pole, a coir rope pole, or a coir pole, anything, and it will start to climb on it. A lot of people also tend to use wooden planks. It will also work out really well. So this is something that you have to keep in mind, because as and when the plant will start to grow, otherwise the plant will start to fall downwards. So you'll have to give some kind of support to this plant. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.